What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist part of One Mind Syndicate. Is that how it goes?
No, I don't think so.
What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist here with...
Gersh1! There you go.
There it is. That's it. And today we're back at it to answer more questions from you guys in another installment of For the Greater... Damn, we really don't say One Mind Syndicate in the intro.
No, yeah. This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put a question in front of your question because we get those questions first. And that is what Opie Dragon did. What's Opie mean?
Look it up later.
Gross. I don't remember if this was asked, but who has been the most important human in the history of the Imperium, excluding the Emperor? If he is included in the category of humans. Yeah, I guess he wouldn't be.
Yeah, he's a special case.
Yeah. P.S. Can Gersh flex some muscles? No. So... that's a really difficult question. I think that if you look at it from like a historical perspective, the most important human, it would be Malcador the Sigillite.
Oh, that's a good one.
Or Malcador the hero.
Yeah. I would even argue that it's Saint Olinus Pius, the Perpetual. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Spit your game first, cuh.
So the reason that I think Malcador would be such an important individual is just because he held it down on the throne, the Golden Throne, while the Emperor had, fought with Horus and stuff like that, almost killing him.
Yeah.
But the most important part there is that he is a human. Regular schmegular human.
I mean, he's got some psychic powers, but I mean, that's still considered basic human in the 40K universe.
One of the most powerful psychic individuals.
Yeah.
A very important person in building the Grey Knights and the Inquisition. So he had the foresight to be like, we need to focus on the enemy from within.
Right.
Because he knew, humanity is, shiesty. Yeah. And they would mess with each other.
Yeah, him and the Emperor were like... I see.
Oh yeah. They were that was his right hand man.
Yep.
What now Pius?
Yeah. So Pius also played an important part during the battle on Horus's flagship because supposedly accounts vary and whatnot, but Pius was there and able to kind of stop Horus for a few seconds to allow the Emperor to actually meet up with him. He was either a sacrifice or he was the butterfly wing that led to the tsunami of the Emperor taking on Horus and beating him.
Yeah. So it's the one with the creating the
chink in the armor of Horus.
Yeah.
Supposedly. Which kind of takes away from what Sanguinius' sacrifice was.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I don't know how I feel about it. It's like, yeah, you got to give humanity a win with this guy who apparently knew the future and was a perpetual and was part of the cabal, and that's also adding to the secrecy of the whole inner workings of people who try to keep time and fate and all that stuff going in a certain aspect. But at the same time, it's well, then you have the whole backstory, the lore of the two Primarchs, Horus and Sanguinius, and how one sacrifice was able to finally amount to something, and this kind of takes away from that. So look at it however you guys want, but in this aspect, if one human could do this to a freaking demigod, essentially, then that's definitely going to rank him high up in my book.
Yeah.
Whether he was working... behind the scenes, humanity would never know about him, obviously. But yeah, he definitely did big things that helped the Imperium, for ages to come.
Yeah.
Or hurt them, depending on how you see it.
That's true.
Yeah.
For another honorable mention would be Belisarius Cawl. I feel like Belisarius Cawl has been around 10,000 years.
Yeah.
He's not even or more than 10,000 years. He's not even human anymore, but at one point he was.
Right. And he helped create the Primaris Marines. His whole ideology on the Mechanicus has pushed them to create, or not to create, but to find more STCs, push the whole how far is heresy when it comes to innovation and technology. And he's a huge benefactor when it comes to just tech in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Good question.
Yeah.
Comment down below. Let us know which human you think is the most famous. And again, the Primarchs are not human. Next question comes from Luz Gime. Pregunta. This is a follow-up from a previous one. Is it possible to say that the Emperor really believed in his Imperial Truth because of his overall ignorance of chaos, and later when he found out, he had to keep the act up? No, I don't think that necessarily happened. I feel that the Emperor didn't know about the Chaos Gods to like the full potential, but what was happening is that he knew that there was some type of negativity whenever humans worshipped stuff. You were feeding these chaos gods, and you're creating cultists, and you're creating these like things that end up hurting humanity. So the Imperial Truth in that sense was good, and the Emperor finding out about the chaos gods, I think it was more of a, oh damn, these guys are way stronger. We can't just say don't believe. Like there has to be something else,
right?
And I think that something else was him becoming a god. But yeah,
because in my opinion, it doesn't make sense for the Emperor not to know about chaos. Like he was created through like chaotic means with the sacrifice of the shamans and devouring hundreds and thousands of souls to just sustain. So it's like the dude has to know, and his plans just revolved on keeping it all locked up and quiet.
Yeah.
And we saw how that happened with the Primarchs. Like if the Primarchs knew about chaos, if they were told beforehand, I think it would have gone way differently, especially the heresy.
Yeah. But yeah.
Isaac Langdon says, what does Orc Childhood look like?
There is no Orc Childhood. Like the gestation period between Spore and Orc Boy is rumored to be like a couple of minutes. So I guess I've always thought of it as like when I think they're called Uruk orcs from Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I think like that. Where like it's just a sack and it opens up and the orc is already a grown ass man, and then some priest like puts his hand on his chest, war paint and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damned Legion says, is there one chaos trait that envelops all the chaos gods? Possibly one that they could ultimately unite on.
Chaos.
Yeah. Because each chaos god has their own unique stuff, like war, hatred, anger, blood for Khorne. Tzeentch is all about plans, psychic, mischief, that kind of stuff. Nurgle, obviously, it's rot, decay. And then you have Slaanesh with perfection and decadence. But there's always underlying things that tie two together, like with being the perfect warrior that affects both Slaanesh and Khorne. So the closest thing we have to something that unites us all was old lore that pitted kind of Malao, just chaos fighting chaos, chaos hating chaos. That was like the one trait that this old god ensued.
He was basically a renegade god,
yes,
fighting chaos. But then you remove him from the picture, and then you realize that they all fight.
They're already fighting amongst themselves. Yeah.
So
that, and GW got sued for it too. So.
Yeah. Next question comes from the big one. What happened to Popeyes, McDonald's, and KFC in the 40K universe? Popeyes and KFC actually use Grok's meat now, not finger-licking good chicken. And then Mickey D's is actually still the same. Everything about Mickey D's is still the same.
Yeah, it transcends millennia.
You go there, you get a Big Mac with extra sauce, a large fry, and a Coke. That's actually not my go-to order. It used to be. What's your go-to order for Mickey D's?
Right now, I've been liking their Filet-O-Fish.
Yeah.
So just a Filet-O-Fish meal with a Coke.
Because of Lent.
Yeah, that's true.
They got the 2 fish now. Next question.
This one's by Zoe Glass. First, are the 1,000 Suns actually comprised of only 1,000 Marines? If so, it seems that Lehman Russ was more thorough than the drop site massacre, which canon says destroyed 3 legions. I mean, I guess so. The thing about Space Marines and their numbers, you got to think about it like during the whole Isvan stuff and like the Great Crusade and all that, the Horus Heresy. This was before the Codex Astartes.
Yeah.
This was before Gilliman said, we don't want another Horus Heresy to happen. And it happened because there were so many Astartes in each legion. hundreds of thousands. So Gilliman changed it to, there's just 1,000 now per chapter.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah. There's also a part 2. Second, if there are only 1,000 Astartes and 1,000 sons, does that imply that the Emperor knew what was going to happen since he chose the name? Not really.
And also, I think the 1,000 Sons was because of a sacrifice that they did for one of their battles, no?
Yeah.
It wasn't because of the whole Leman Russ fighting them. Yeah.
And then lastly, keep in mind, where they were loyal, the Horus Heresy books stipulate that the 1,000 Sons numbers shrank to around 1,000 before Magnus found his cure, by making his deal with the ruinous powers. It's also implied that the numbers yet again hit at least close to 1,000 after Magnus took them to the planet of sorcerers. A strange coincidence, if the Emperor didn't have a hand in it.
I mean, it could have just been fate, too.
Yeah.
That's one aspect of 40K that doesn't really get talked about. Fate, and how, like, I guess it would be Tzeentch, right?
Yeah, Tzeentch has, like, a part to play, like pulling strings and machinations of plans going into other plans that have a fruition that affects this plan, which makes this happen. So there's a lot going on.
And it goes to show, because, like, obviously 1,000 Sons are Tzeentch Marines, so it's one of those situations where, like, fate was being influenced or placed upon the 1,000 Sons before the 1,000 Sons even knew.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because, like, Tzeentch and all Chaos Gods bend time and space.
Yeah. The thing about the 1,000 Sons is that when Magnus became the Primarch, they were never at, like, full strength. They actually were not participating actively in the Great Crusade because they were under strength. So they had to get their legion up. They weren't participating in major battles. So they always kind of did have a struggle in keeping up with their numbers. And I think that also kind of plays into the whole, like, every one of them has to be a psyker. So that might be like Tzeentch pulling some strings, like, oh, this legionnaire wasn't going to be a psyker or isn't planned to or whatever. We have to kill him off. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff, like, behind the scenes that could play a part in it. But yeah, they were never at full strength for very long.
That's their thing, yeah. And those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, please comment down below. Thank you guys so much for listening and hanging out with us, and we'll talk tomorrow.
Yeah, this has been The Sound Alchemist.
Kirsch 1.
And we are out.